Welcome to 24 Hours, Nothing But Net on our live stream. And we have one of the big time names that we're going to have on this 24-hour presentation for Special Olympics. And it's my buddy, Rece Davis from ESPN. Rece, thank you so much for giving us some of your time.
Oh, my pleasure, Debbie. Glad to be with you guys.
Listen, I know you're coming off the draft. We're pre-taping this before we get in the driveway, knocking down free throws. But I just want to ask you, just your impressions of the draft. How'd it go?
It was phenomenal, Debbie. I've never seen anything like it. I never thought I would see a crowd that matched what we had in Nashville in 2019. And while the logistics around it and Nashville covering up Broad Street where you couldn't even really see that there was supposed to be a thoroughfare there, there were more people at the draft in Detroit. They set a record. They estimated over 250,000 people were there Thursday night. All told, I think they approached or exceeded 700,000 people over the course of 3 days. So it was the NFL is brilliant in staying in the news cycle and turning things into an event. And this whole draft thing has now become second only to the Super Bowl in terms of cities attempting to get NFL events in their town. So it was successful and it was great. And we saw Nick Saban's debut on Thursday night and Friday night, and he was just sensational. So it was a lot of fun.
So you have a whole infrastructure around putting this presentation on, and when you have that many people and you have that many eyes on it, now you got Nick Saban on the set. How did things change behind the scenes, if at all?
I think just making sure that he was comfortable with the television aspect of it. Now, he's always been great on TV, but typically when he's been on, he has been guest expert / being interviewed. There have been times over the years, rare occasions when Alabama hasn't been in the playoff or whatever, where he has come and joined us and he has been, not being interviewed, but sort of as a guest expert. Now, while he still maintains those expert credentials, he's part of the group and making sure that he was really comfortable integrating himself into that. And as you might expect, Debbie, he wants to know everything, which is just sort of typical for him. He wants to know, how everything's going to work, how we're approaching things. He wants to be good. After the first night, and actually I take that back. It was after game day, before we went into the draft, do a 2-hour game day show. He was great in it. We're back in the trailer. And he looks at me and he goes, "What have you got for me?" Meaning, what do you want? What do I need to do better? Where can I, he wants to be good at this. He's not just rolling in and saying, "Hey, I'm Nick Saban. I'm going to go out there and talk football." He's going to do that, but he wants to be really good at it. And it's been off to a tremendous start. So I'm looking forward to see what it brings.
Rece, you've known Nick for a long time, so Coach has, been in the public eye for so long, but you've also been behind the scenes with him and you've gotten to know him. What surprised you or didn't surprise you about his preparation for this event?
I was not surprised at all. I mean, he had everything. He had watched so much tape. He had everything on his laptop. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's going to be at the, at the Mac Wizard desk or the Apple desk or whatever, if you have to have your laptop straightened out. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. But in terms of the things that he had in there, result of his preparation, he knew if a guy had stiff ankles, he knew if a guy, didn't get in and out of breaks. He knew what coaches and general managers thought of a large number of players. And, like even little things, guys, I'm pretty sure Max Melton from Rutgers goes in the second round. Okay, when he goes second or third round, at any rate, when he goes, he's a good athlete. I mean, college football fans were aware of him. If you were hardcore like us, you knew who he was. But on the periphery, fans might not have been as aware of a guy like that. He gets drafted, and Nick immediately goes, "This is my sleeper corner in the draft. This guy," and he'd watched tape of him. He knew guys inside out. So that part didn't surprise me. The one thing that I was pleasantly surprised, I knew it would happen. I didn't know it would happen immediately. He's got a wicked sharp sense of humor. And I wondered how long it would take him to really display that. And he he jumped right in seamlessly, and I'm glad. I think that's going to endear him to people who have just seen him as, this high achieving, hard driving coach in the past, and they see, that he's got a really good sense of humor. I think they're going to enjoy that even more.
So Rece, people see you and watch you work, and it's flawless, right? I mean, there's so much that
I
goes
don't know
into
about that,
what
Deb.
so much goes
You
into
you
what
you
oh,
you
I
you've covered up for me a lot over the years. It's
oh,
not flawless. So
no, I have it's been an honor to serve as your analyst in college basketball for a few years. I'm grateful every time I get a chance to work with you, but I know that there's so much that goes into it, and it does appear flawless when you can transition from the set of college basketball to the set of college football to the set of the NFL draft. When you do all those things, how do you keep it organized and maybe separate in your mind, but seamlessly transitioning all the different personalities, all the conversation that takes place? You got to be witty and sharp like you are, Rece, because you're always on top of it. That's why it seems so flawless to me.
I think you really want to try to be as comfortable as you can, and the comfort usually comes from the preparation. Before I go on the air, I always repeat to myself that I want poise, I want presence, I want personality, and the preparation. And the poise I have described over the years, Debbie, is if a light falls on the set in front of me, I want to just sort of push it to the side and say, we'll get that cleaned up for you. Meanwhile, the Packers are on the clock, or, meanwhile, North Carolina State trying to go to the Final Four or whatever. And I'd always spoken figuratively in that way. And Saturday on day 3 of the draft, a big gust of wind came down and knocked a light. I guess maybe it was a light or some type of mechanism that was holding up some of the black curtains to control the light. And the pole came down and hit glanced Louis Riddick in the head. And so I sort of told that story on the air. I said, I didn't give the whole 4 Ps, but I said, I've always said, if a light falls, I want to clean it away and keep things going. I said, but I was always speaking figuratively. I didn't mean literally that a light would come and hit one of my analysts, while we're talking. But, I think that's the thing, is you want to be, if you're prepared and if you love the subject matter, which I do for both football and basketball, then you can be comfortable. I think the other thing too, and you're great at this, is you have to be unselfish. And what I mean by that is we all have things that we want to get into the broadcast and that are worthy of getting into the broadcast. But over the years, you realize that there are times when a lot of it's just going to wind up on the cutting room floor. You're not going to get to say everything that you wanted to say or everything you had prepared. You got to be judicious in what to leave behind. Something comes to mind, you want to bring it up, somebody else jumps in, and then you weigh, should I say this or not? Because we had a guy, you might remember him, Debbie. There was an older gentleman by the name of Bud Morgan, who for a while was consulting on-air people at ESPN. It's been a number of years ago. And he would sometimes show tape of either host or analyst emptying the barrel. And he called it smartest kid in the class syndrome. He said, you don't want that. He said, it's off-putting to the people at home. He said, you want to be knowledgeable. You want to deliver things that you've prepared, but you don't have to empty the barrel. So I try to, I'm sure I mess up in that regard sometimes, but you try to be judicious, know when to cede the territory, know when to push back, know when to argue. Sometimes there are times when you can't let things stand, and it's for the good of the show, and sometimes for the good of the analyst, to be honest. I mean, sometimes they say something and you go, I can't let you stand on that, because whether you know it or not in this moment, that's not good for you. It's not going to be good for you if I don't challenge that. So it's a lot of it comes with experience, but most of it just comes with knowing the people you're working with and being comfortable enough in your preparation to push them when they need pushing and to give ground when you know it's the right thing.
Rece, I just find myself just leaning in with every word that you're saying. I love what you're saying. This is a great leadership, communication, teamwork lesson as well. I was just trying to get a little conversation with you, and this has been outstanding. That's why I love working with you, because you you always bring something that makes you think. And that's what we're trying to do here around Special Olympics is make people think, can you help? Can you get involved? How would you get involved? Could you donate? 24 Hours Nothing But Net is in its 6th year. We're coming up on $1 million. The money goes directly to help the athletes train and compete and organize and socialize. My family, my son Frankie, how important this mission is for us to be able to raise money for other families. If somebody out there was thinking about getting involved, or if you have an experience or a story around Special Olympics or any philanthropic work that you've done, because I know you have a huge heart, and I don't know if people know how giving and how supportive you are of all of your teammates around ESPN. But I just wanted to give you a chance to share whatever you'd like to share.
Well, I think it's really a special thing that you do. And, Frankie's such a great young man. I've enjoyed meeting him a couple of times over the years. We're trying to get him on the set of College Game Day too. We were at Clemson a few years ago. So, I think the thing is that we try to be generous. I know from a Special Olympics standpoint, per se, when my son Christopher played at Princeton, played baseball at Princeton, that was one of their big endeavors and one of the things that he found most rewarding over the years. And it has, probably this is to my discredit, but it has been a while since I've done anything directly with Special Olympics. But back in the days in the past, I remember going to track and field events, like when I was in television, different places, and to be able to see the joy in competition and the joy in camaraderie and the achievement that these people have, these young people have, primarily young people. No, it's not all young people, but primarily the young people have. It's very rewarding and it's worthwhile. And I think that's the whole thing, Debbie. Whatever the causes are that we care about, and however you feel that you can contribute, whether that's financially or with time or moral support or even making individual connections. I mean, there are worthwhile things that people do on an individual basis that others never know about. And that's, to my way of thinking, the way I strive, not always successfully, but strive to live my life, that's biblical. Sometimes, the right hand doesn't need to know what the left hand's doing, but there are also other times to step out to the front and try to encourage others to join you in the mission. And that's why I applaud what you do with this. It's phenomenal. I do have a question though. What's the free throw percentage there for you as you're shooting? How are we looking right in that regard?
Well, this is our 6th year, so my first 5 years, we've raised over $860,000, and the free throw percentage average over 5 years is 94. So, for someone who gets AARP mail, like I say, and I'm training in the fitness that comes with it, Rece, it's incredible, focus, and I'm highly motivated to do it at a high level because people tune in. They don't want to see some old lady in the driveway shooting a bunch of bricks, right? And maybe if I shoot it at a high level, they'll go, you know what? Maybe I could do a little more. I mean, the sacrifice that comes with the behind the scenes effort that a lot of people don't see or don't know. You can't just walk out in the driveway and make 100 free throws every hour for 24 straight hours. It is not an easy task. And I'm not saying that to boast about what I'm doing. I'm very humble about the number. As a matter of fact, I may have said this to you or not on the air, but when free throw shooting over college basketball has been so poor lately, I do nudge my partner and say, please don't say my percentage on the air. I don't want to embarrass the kids.
I know this. I'm not fouling you at the end of the game. I'll just let you dribble out the clock. We're just going to lose unless I'm trying to trade 3 for 2. That's my only shot then, I guess.
Well, I joke about the only time I got to the free throw line in college is if the other team got a technical. So I'm that was my game back then, but I'm so grateful for your time. This is supposed to be your off season right off the draft. And I'm so grateful that you got your busy life trying to, decompress. What do you do when you have some time off, Rece?
You know what? We're just we're hanging out at home right now, but we're going to I've got to get my date straight. I guess the end of next week, my wife and I are going to take a trip through the Midwest, following my son's baseball team. My son's playing pro ball in the Frontier League with the Evansville Otters. So we're going to be going to such exotic outposts as Joliet, Illinois, to to watch baseball. So we do a good bit of that, and that's what we'll be doing. So.
I know you love that. I've had a chance to meet Christopher, and so I know how much you love baseball. It's funny that you're such a baseball guy and you work in college basketball and football. Isn't that kind of ironic?
You know, the funny thing is, Debbie, is that my two favorite sports, and the sports I played poorly, but sports I played in high school were football and basketball. I didn't play baseball in high school. You know, I played growing up, and had a reporter did a story on Christopher a couple of years ago, and he said that he thought one of the reasons, and this sort of speaks to involvement, I guess, and he played all three until his junior year of high school before he started concentrating fully on baseball. But baseball was always his first love, and he told the reporter, he said, I think it was because my dad was around to coach. You know, he was in his off season from football and basketball, so he was around to go to the field with me. He was around to throw batting practice, and actually I feed the machine now because the throwing batting practice is, and also I'll confess this to you, I don't want to. I'm scared now when I throw batting practice, even if I have the L screen. Because if I don't get behind that L screen, it is not going to go well for me, so I still do that. Even he was, before he had to report, we were out there doing it last week, and it's something that I've loved. But he said that was one of the reasons he thinks that he gravitated to baseball over the others. So
So cool.
it's been great. It's been great.
That is so cool to hear. And I know Christopher, if I got to spend time with you, it didn't matter where it was, I would take advantage of it too. And I'm sure that's pretty cool. Rece, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on 24 Hours Nothing But Net. We're grateful for you being such a wonderful teammate.
Likewise, Debbie, anything for you. Good luck with it. Knock them all down.